We are standing, ladies and gentlemen. Ayaye, chuo Nairobi, hakuna matata. Welcome, Chancellor Patrick Vakoyen. Thank you, choir. Thank you, choir. Thank you. Let's be upstanding for the anthems. UN choir, anthems.
University of Nairobi, we labor all together in search for knowledge and truth. We bless and honor thee. We are the pinnacle of excellence in knowledge, knowledge to serve our motherland. O Kenya, knowledge to serve all mankind. Be not angered by pride. Let excellence prevail. May we all shun the pitfall of being the ivory tower. We sacrifice our dedication. Our problems will overcome. We sacrifice our dedication. Our problems will overcome. We are the fount of knowledge. We create, we are the vision. God give us grace to serve, and the future for us is bright, and the children shall drink from the fount of knowledge. Knowledge shall surely set them free. Knowledge shall surely set them free.
As we are still standing, let us bow down for our word of prayer. Lord God, our Father, we thank you for bringing us together this afternoon as University of Nairobi community, together with the invited guests. We thank you for the blessings that you've given to us, even as we sing and celebrate and look back at how gracious you have been, leading us, watching over us, protecting us, lifting us up from one level to the next. This afternoon, Lord, we thank you for our Chancellor, Professor Patrick Vakoyen. We thank you for our University Council. We thank you for our Vice Chancellor. We thank you for our DVCs and COO. We thank you for members of University Senate. We thank you for our invited guests who have joined us this afternoon. We thank you for staff and students of University of Nairobi. You've gathered us together for this town hall event this afternoon. And Lord, we pray that as we are gathered here to fellowship together and to look back at how gracious you have led us, and even to look into the future, what the future holds for us. We know that you're in control and you're taking charge of everything. So as we begin with us, and to the end of it, we'll give thanks. For this is our prayer through faith in Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you very much, Chancellor Patrick Vercohen. Welcome here once again. Our Vice Chancellor, Professor Margaret Hutchinson, Professor Ayo Witao, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, Brian Ouma, Chief Operating Officers, Deans, faculty members present, our guests from GCA, and also our partners from Green Oregon Universities, students, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are going to have an entertainment by University of Nairobi Choir. You will do a number, then after that we'll have a performance by a University of Nairobi student to do a spoken word. Thank you, choir.
Niko butu mwana za kolelayo. Niko Mikono maina misoni kogutu mwana zako lelayo. Wapi kogutu mwana zako lelayo.
Thank you. Give them a hearty clap. That rendition was done by the great Kofi Olomide, King of Rumba, and they have adapted it nicely. Thank you very much. We want to have spoken word on the Big Five by one of our students. Please welcome.
All protocols observed, good afternoon. Mr. Chancellor, sir, the phrase comrades' power is like fire. So if we don't say that a couple of times today, the room will be dull. So comrades' power. Comrades' power. Yeah, I'm not a politician, I'm just a creative. As we gather here today under the banner of the UON Big Five, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment in the university's journey. The overarching goal of the Big Five is to produce graduates who are not just academically proficient, but also well-rounded individuals equipped to thrive in the dynamic and competitive world. Warren Butler says, education is not the filing of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. So by fostering a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, and global citizenship, the Big Five will empower students to develop a holistic understanding of their chosen field and the broader world. You will be encouraged to think critically, problem solve, and collaborate, equipping you with the essential skills to succeed in any endeavor. We are here to drink from the juice from the fruits of the minds built by the fountain of knowledge. Here today to inspire, to aspire, to desire and sire. Here today to build a legacy and a foundation for our forthcoming generation. And not Gen X or a Gen Z, but a generation that is empowered. Dreams are only feasible when affordable. I don't know if it's right to say that, but I think that's why the students are on the streets fighting the new funding model. Is it right to say that aspirations are only attainable when reachable? And I think that's why the Big Five is here as our answer to the big question. That if inclusive education is too high a price to pay today, then ignorance is the debt we have to pay another day. So in the heart of a world-class university, education can be many things. Here, education is like a mother. It has given birth to many professions here. Education has birthed responsible fathers here. Education has fathers here. Education has taken people further here. Education is like a dad. It has fathered fathers to travel farther than their fathers here. Education is like a builder. Since our founding fathers, it has built a foundation for our nation. Now we sit in a tower bigger than it looks like. Call it the UON Tower of Babel. Here is where the big five is being planted. A tree with so many nutritious fruits here. Education has taught us that even unlearning is learning. Here is where brains are poached. And that's why the great Taifa Hall was named the Ivory Tower. Here, education is like a princess. And we are its knight here. Education is like a god. We don't see it, but we trust in his savior here. Education has taken people to the bar. Now most lawyers from our country come from here. Education has taken people behind bars. And we are not seeking freedom. We love it here. Education is the bar. We go to take drinks from here. Education is our air. It's what makes our heart beat. Here, everybody is drunk, and not from wine or beer, but from drinking from the fountain of knowledge. So when Beyonce says she is drunk in love, we say we are drunk in knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlton Olo, student of Performing Arts, University of Nairobi. I want to take this opportunity to now invite Professor Margaret Hutchinson to make opening remarks. Thank you. Give her a hearty clap as he comes.
Indeed, as Olo has mentioned, education indeed is an equalizer. Because when I tried to tell the Chancellor to Google the where I was born, he couldn't find it on the GPS because I come from a place where there is no road. And coming from a patriarchal society is a miracle we are here today. Our Chancellor, our greatest stakeholders, our students, members of Senate, members of UEB, invited guests, I don't know that to call him my brother-in-law, Jeff Koinange. He also tried to get hold of me when I was a young girl with his relative. Not for himself, no. Not, you didn't get it right, not for himself. But he was coming with his sister to look for somebody at home and he couldn't find the way. Good afternoon, everyone. My role today is limited to introducing our Chancellor today. So I've welcomed you to the University of Nairobi. Mine is just to invite our Chancellor to really deal with a very interesting topic that has brought us here. But before I reach there, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of who Professor I was supposed to have known Vakoyen. Professor had a journey just like us as students. You see, he started education, of course, after growing up in the Netherlands as a young man, as a young boy, but he decided to go for the first degree in environmental engineering in Hugh University of Applied Sciences at Utrecht. Then he proceeded to do 2 master's degrees, one master's of science in social and political philosophy, from an engineer to philosophy. I'm choosing my words carefully. Then he went to do a master's of public administration in Harvard, the world top university. He proceeded to his PhD from Wageningen University of the Netherlands. And so in terms of academic prowess, none can match what he has been able to accomplish as an academia, as a researcher, and as a practitioner. Fast forward, in terms of the work life, Patrick worked with the World Bank, among others. I said today I will not go into a lot of details because we are dealing with academia, people who can already be Googling the entire CV, which would be more than 100 pages. So I'm just trying to summarize. So I will not go into too much details. But globally, Patrick is currently the CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation. This is a global center that is looking at issues climate change and how we can build resilience of communities, not just in Europe, but also in Africa and the entire globe. So he's working in over 30 countries currently as he speaks. But before that, he was actually the World Bank Group Special Rep on climate change, where he developed the carbon pricing leadership coalition. So in terms of really capturing what we are grappling with now, climate change, Patrick has been at the forefront. Fast forward, it's good for you to note that during this period also, before he now came into the global world, he was a professor of practice of sustainable diplomacy at the Nairobi School of Law at Tufts University. So in terms of practicing academia, he's been there with us. So what brings him to Africa? You know, in the process of being the CEO of the Global Center of Adaptation, he, with the president of the African Development Bank, Akumi Adesina, a friend of mine actually, they developed the African Adaptation Acceleration Program that is currently taking Africa by storm. They have raised millions and millions of dollars for this cause, because we realize if you are there maybe 2 days ago, the issues of climate change has disproportionately, I don't know, I'm having an echo, disproportionately affected the African continent. So while we are the lowest polluters of the atmosphere, we are actually the ones who are most vulnerable. And if you were to go inside there and check, even in terms of the gender dynamics, women and youth and also people living with disability are disproportionately affected by climate change. And so we were fortunate that in 2022, we were already in touch with him. I think he gave us some money through the World Bank, also, African Development Bank, to look at how we can research on climate resilient infrastructure here at the University of Nairobi. On the 26th of October, 2022, he was appointed as the distinguished chair of Wangari Maathai Institute here at the University of Nairobi for the recognition of the work that he had done in the climate change space. Fast forward to 2 graduations from now, on the 23rd of September, 2022, we conferred on him the Doctor of Science honoris causa during our 67th graduation here at the University of Nairobi. Basically, recognizing again his contribution, his championing of the climate resilience agenda for Africa. As if that was not enough, we want to thank the government of Kenya through His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, because in 2024 he appointed him as the Chancellor of the university. And so for him to come, I think we've had some engagements with him. We actually had a town hall meeting with the students here before, where he launched in June the Big 5 agenda. So in terms of the launch, we've already done it. And so here today we're having a build-up activities towards our graduation on Friday. And so in terms of delving down today, we said the only constituency that must be reached, must own, must run with this agenda is our student body. And so I want to thank our students that when we mobilized you on a very short notice that you have been able to come. I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. And so today we are doing this again where we want to invite our Chancellor to address us. Because you see, it's another story to launch it, but it's another story to actualize it. And so it's my pleasure, my honor, and my privilege on your behalf to welcome the Chancellor, of the University of Nairobi, Professor Patrick Vakoyani.
No jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope, and on top of that, a strike. Let's first address faculty. I understand you. I sympathize with you. It's not easy to be a lecturer at a public university where your salary is not being paid on time. It's not easy to be a faculty member when it's not only not on time, but it's only 50% at some public universities, not at ours. It's not easy as a faculty member to receive more students and less resources. No jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope. Students, I saw your notification. You said no to loans. You said no to loans. And I want to say, okay, yes, good. Oh, of course, sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Protocol observed. Okay, yes. Protocol observed. But to the students, loans. Of course you're not going to take a loan. Of course you're not going to take a loan when you graduate from the University of Nairobi with a bachelor degree and you enter up as a taxi driver. It's not right. Is it, students? It's not right to take a loan when you graduate from the University of Nairobi with a master's degree and when you have to work the tables. It's not right. Is it, students? And it's not right to take a loan when you end up from this great university with a PhD and you can't make it to the end of the month. I want to say a few things before we go into the big five. 1, 2, and 3. I work for you. The Vice Chancellor works for you. The Deputy Vice Chancellors work for you. Faculty members work for you. How do we get from here to tomorrow in this very charged domain? Money will not fall from the sky. And if my son were to study at the University of Nairobi in the current system, I would not advise him to take a loan. Why? Because if he were to graduate jobless, and that is exactly where the big five comes in. I don't want to be naive. I don't want to be seen naive that there are not major issues with affordable housing. It's not just here in Nairobi, it's not just in Kenya, it's not just in Africa, it's also in the Netherlands, the major issue for students. But when a university sits on the largest plot of public land, should we not have a plan on how to commercialize this? That's one of the assignments which the very bold new Vice Chancellor is taking on. I know, and you know, I'm from the other side. I happen to come from outside Africa. I'm not from Nairobi, I'm not from Kenya, I'm not from Africa, I'm from the Netherlands. And when you look from the outside, what happened over the last few months, from strike to marches on the street, to parliament on fire, to your student leaders, very bold, representing your interests, being in the media, calling for more work to be done, I see something different. I see opportunities. And let me tell you one, starting with the Big Five. Think about it. From outside, and you look at Nairobi, and you look at this great university, do you know that Nairobi, the city of Nairobi, has the largest share of all startup enterprises across sub-Saharan Africa? But did you also know that's a great position to start from? But if you compare ourselves to, say, Stanford, what does Stanford, what do they have which we don't yet? They have a concentrated place where startups anchor, where venture capitalists come, where they meet and take off. It's called, as you know, Silicon Valley. What if students, what if faculty, what if management, what if stakeholders, what if we were to create Silicon Valley here within the University of Nairobi? And you might say, well, Chancellor's takes ages, takes 5 years, takes 10 years. You already graduated at a time. No, we don't have time. We don't have time. And the beauty is, the government of France, not known to many, has already contributed 35 million euros, right? 35 million euros. Its largest contribution to any university across Africa for this Silicon Savannah. My offer to you is, my call to you is, my pledge to you is, design this with us. Not tomorrow, not the day after, not next month, not next year, now. Why? We're moving with the first one of the Big Five. The second one. Over the last few months, right, I'm coming from outside. I know a little bit of Kenya, but really, what do you really know from when you come from the other side? So I had a lot of conversations with you, with government, but also with captains of industry. And these captains of industry, i.e. your prospective employers, they said, well, the University of Nairobi, it's great, it's the best in the country. But Mr. Chancellor, sir, if we can be frank, most, some, a large majority, who graduate from this university, either with a bachelor or a master or a PhD, quite frankly, they're not fit for purpose. They're not fit for purpose. What we need on day one in the new economy, not in the economy of the 20th century, no, in the economy of the 21st century, the green economy. So I said, okay, let's take that for a given for now. What if we, University of Nairobi, cut a deal with these captains of industry where we co-design and elevate our curriculum together But I said to them, there is a contract here. We do this for you, but you will offtake our students. So the second idea is, we will launch soon the Kenya Green Job Center, which makes graduates, students who want to come into the green space, fit for purpose for those sectors. But many of you perhaps will say, well, Mr. Chancellor, sir, I'm not in that space. It's not my interest. I want to do something else. And we have something for you too, because on my watch, it is inconceivable to graduate from this university, the best university in Eastern Africa, without any basic understanding of what's happening around us on climate change and its solutions. So starting in this academic year, all students, from law to health, from agriculture to philosophy, they have to go through a climate change solutions course. The Green Job Center, Kenya's Green Job Center, is moving because if I were to ask, I suspect, any question to any student, are you willing to take a loan if you would have the high probability that you would land a high-paid job, a good-paid job? Myself, I had exactly the same question. The Vice Chancellor read out part of my resume. Yes, I went to Harvard. You know how expensive Harvard is? I could not afford that. So I took a loan. But at some point, you have to sign on the dot that you have to pay back. And then when you look at the fine print, you see the interest rate. It's pretty high. But my calculus was, if I go to Harvard, the probability of landing a job which can pay for that is probably fairly high. And today, you will judge that because I'm in this unpaid Chancellor's role. Thirdly, the world is moving around us. And it sounds like a super cliche, but quite frankly, how I looked at Nairobi the last few months, how I looked at Kenya in the last few months, how I looked at the news last night, how I looked at the letter from your student leaders, we're at the crossroad. We are at the crossroad. We either go down, we're stuck, we're bankrupt, no jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope, or collectively we turn it around. And one option, one technological innovation which is around us is so important, and I'm sure you're using it. I'm sure you're using it to write your papers. I'm sure you're using it to write your thesis, artificial intelligence. Did you know that in the coming years, 15 trillion US dollars is generated to the world economy? That's a great number. But you know where that economic dividend is basically landed? Well, I can tell you this, it's not in Africa, it's in the global north. But did you also know, students, we can be angry, we can be upset, we can be feeling anxious even, that at this university, we happen to have the best department of math. At this university, we happen to have the best department of computational science. Earlier this week, it was an amazing experience. I met one of your colleagues, second-year student, Brian. Is Brian even here? Where is he? Brian, stand up. Oh, Brian, that's important. Brian, please stay standard. Why is it important? Brian and I met for the first time. Who is Brian? Second-year student. In class, like all of yourself. He created an innovation, right? Bright as he is. Basically to support teachers at primary school to do their grading through AI, right? And presumably you would say, well, the lecturers here at this university also could use that app of Brian to get the grading done in time. But if Brian is smart, he would follow the path of Bill Gates. And what did Bill Gates do? He dropped out. He dropped out to commercialize this bright idea. But as I said to Brian, there is a better route. There is a different route for you and all of you here. What if we build on the strength of this university and we create the first ever Africa School of Artificial Intelligence? And you, Brian, you should, as a student, go to that school like many others who have that interest. In a few minutes, I also will ask another person to stand up, because we have bright students, we also have the best and the brightest faculty members, one of which is on artificial intelligence, and she will come to the podium soon to present what this School of AI is and how it could work for you. And again, students, you may think, well, listen, Chancellor, sir, I'm in philosophy, I'm in agriculture. AI, yes, I use it for my papers. But that's not the field where I'm going to go in. I would say that might be true. But on my watch, none of you can graduate from this university without being trained in the basics of artificial intelligence. The School of AI, the third of the 5, we're not waiting, we're moving, and our invitation is for you to shape it with us. The fourth one. Yesterday, full transparency, I had a meeting in the morning, my longest meeting to date in Kenya throughout the last 15 years. With whom? Student leaders. And I wanted to be honest with the student leaders, and they were very honest with me. And I said, going to the street, protesting, striking, you have every right to do so. But I said, I see it as a symptom of something else, of a symptom of a broken system where young leaders, students, quite frankly, are being treated as an afterthought. You're being brought into a committee when the meal is cooked and you have to say yes and you can tweak it in the edges. So I said, well, what if? Look at the legacy of this great university, the president of the university, or the president of the country even, University of Nairobi, the deputy president, the cabinet secretaries, the Supreme Court justices, the parliamentarians. We will get you there someday here at this University of Nairobi, Jeff. But quite frankly, honestly, it's still quite elitist, right? The best and the brightest in the most important positions, being it in government, being in the private sector, they come from an elite, and there might be exceptions, true. But what if you are from Mukuru? What if you're from Makwini? You have aspirations too. You also want to lead, you also want to lift. So I said, what if we together, and the Vice Chancellor said it really right, but also perhaps there was a footnote that Harvard, yes, is the best school in the world, ranked #1. And they have one particular school of government which basically has the best ranked leadership institute. And there are these rich kids in Kenya, in Africa, including in Europe, obviously. But particularly if you look at the statistics, if you're rich, if you're a student, if you want to go in leadership positions, where do you go? You go to Harvard yourself. You go to the Harvard Kennedy School because your parents can afford it. But I said to the students, what if we turn the table? What if we create our own leading of the Harvard Kennedy School and say, Honorable President, Honorable Dean, you're the best and the brightest. That's what they want to hear. But you also have an interest to partner with Africa, the growing continent. There is a deal to be made. What if we create this Africa's Leadership Institute together? University of Nairobi, and right, so that students, you, the new ones, the old ones, would go to this Africa Leadership Institute. You know what the Harvard said? We're in. But I know that many of you have been extremely critical of President Ruto. Some of you may even have sent a tweet, Ruto must go. But I want to present a different picture. I don't want here to defend him. There's no upside for me. There's also no downside. It's President Ruto. During his international trips, he went to Washington, D.C. for a state visit. He met with President Biden. He met with President Obama. And you know, with these bilateral engagements, you ask something, they give you something, but then always the question is, what do you ask? To President Obama, he asked one thing. Can you imagine? In one bilateral, you can ask 10 things. You can ask all sorts of things. He asked for one thing and one thing only. He said to President Obama, Mr. President, you have Kenyan roots. We're going to work together with your alma mater, i.e. Harvard University. But we need you, President Obama, to help us fundraise for that new school. Obama said, I'm in. We are moving. So, full transparency, student leaders after this long conversation yesterday came to me one by one. I want to go to that school. Get me in as the first cohort. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I said, well, listen, it's not that how it works. You represent. You lead, but in fact, you lead from behind. Right? I said to the leaders, shape it. Shape this leadership institute. Shape it that it is inclusive. Shape it that it has place for you, but also shape it that it has place for all of us. It's up for grabs. On my watch, nobody can graduate, none, from the University of Nairobi without a basic leadership course, 101, from that particular new institute. That's the fourth one. Now the fifth one. One of these nights I had a terrible opening line. I was hammered for it. And I said, I want to tell a story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And basically I focused mainly on the bad and mainly on the ugly, but I was not really sort of balanced because there is something very good, not just in Africa, but globally within the University of Nairobi. If you look at the 10 faculties, that's one faculty, year after year after year after year, stands out. It's the Faculty of Health. Research, analytics, the best and the brightest in terms of faculty, the best and the brightest in terms of students. Last night, the CS and I, we met with the CS Health. For me, it was the first time. We were in a sort of small setting. And she said, I'm so glad to be back at my alma mater. And she pointed out how important the health science department is for her work. But when I went myself to the faculty, to the buildings, to meet with students in a sort of an unfiltered way, the faculty members, the students say, yeah, well, you might be the best in Africa, but what if we were to double down on infrastructure? What if we were to double down on lab capacity? What if we were to double down on clinical tests? We're good here, but that's not the end game. So as the fifth of the Big Five agenda, we are going to double down on the health department. We will create an advanced health center. But back to the opening line. No jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope, and then you see the Big Five responding to this. I think that some of you might even think, well, that sounds great, Honorable Chancellor. I can still don't pay my student loan. I still don't have affordable housing. So obviously, this Big Five needs to be seen together with foundational pieces, basic pieces for any university to stand on. So my call on the leadership of management is to fix it, to fix the foundational pieces. But my call to you students is, and as I said, I sympathize with your cause, is to come in on the Big Five, to come in on the Big Five big. How? By shaping it. Because quite frankly, if the Big Five doesn't work for you, it's a completely redundant exercise. So, as I said to the student leaders, I know you hate, and I do too, committees. Committee here, committee there, more often than not tokenistic. But what we will establish is a committee of all the 10 faculties. We work through structures. You get of each faculty 2 members nominated, male and female, to shape the Big Five. And I know some of you are very reluctant to join the committees which were announced by government recently on the financing model, but you have my personal commitment. This is different. And why is this different? Because this is at the beginning of the process, right? What you will hear today, particularly when we give a deep dive on AI, these are preliminary ideas. So, as I said, we're moving, but we're not waiting. And what I hope from the student leaders, and what I certainly hope from the students, is that you centralize, focus your energy, your anger, your frustration, your anxiety, to not only say no, and you have every right to say no, but also to say, I want this solution, I don't like this is nonsense, change this, we need your input on this. Let me end with one question, which will be answered, I hope, at the end of this town hall. It's not to you students, it's not to the faculty, it's for our distinguished guest, Jeff Koinange. It's a very important question, and I'm asking this on your behalf. I was at the show of Jeff twice. And the first time I was there, I had to get used a little bit to Jeff. Right? You dance, but how do you dance? He asked me all sorts of questions from at home, and you're white, you're middle-aged, you're from the north, what can you bring? I mean, obviously, complete, legitimate questions. But at the end of the show, I asked this question, and I'm going to repeat it again. on your behalf. Jeff, I know, and you know, obviously, you have a young son, 17 years old. You send him away. He's studying not in Kenya. You're a global citizen, right? You're a global voice. For those who don't know this, we only focus on media news in Kenya. Jeff is a global icon. And in the show, the first show which I did with you, I asked you at the end. So I said, Jeff, I'm not the Chancellor. Are you convinced? Are you going to bring your son to the University of Nairobi? And Jeff said at the end of that first show, no. Not fit for purpose. I can afford to do something else. I have my choices, and I chose for something else. It's my turn, it's my son, it's his future. And as a father, I say no. Now, fast forward, a couple of months later. Don't have to answer now, we're first going to hear from the students. Your son, 17 years old, has all the choices in his life. Your son, 17 years old, has all the choices to lift Africa, to build Africa, to shape Africa. So my question to you, Jeff, and obviously your son has to answer eventually himself, will you advise, will you recommend, is your guidance to your son to come to the University of Nairobi? We will not have the answer yet. We'll have a conversation now with you, which will be moderated by Jeff. But on my watch, we will not leave this room without that answer. Thank you very much indeed. Mm-hmm. I go back? I stay. Jeff. Oh, no, sorry. No. Many things in life I do wrong. At home, at work, at school. Messing up the program. I want to just bring my sister to the podium. And I want to say something to you, Professor. Which is not diplomatic. But it's something really from the heart. When I came into the University of Nairobi in the last few months, I met many students, I met many professors, and management, obviously. But there was one professor who stood out. There was one professor who stood out in its sharpness, in its clarity, in its purpose, in its commitment for students, and being not only on the cutting edge, but riding the wave and creating it. So I want to introduce the professor to us, because you are the global lead on the Artificial Intelligence School, and we're counting on you to deliver it. Thank you very much.
Long live you and long live. Long live you and long live.
Long live. Thank you, Chancellor, for those kind words. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a proud alumni of the University of Nairobi. And I'm here to talk about the Nairobi School of AI. So I'll start by saying, what a time to be alive. We're talking about artificial intelligence. What a time to be a student. With your future, you've got a blank slate to decide what your future is going to be. You're living on the cutting edge. We are witnessing a paradigm shift in the world because of artificial intelligence. What a time to be a student at the University of Nairobi at a time such as this. And why am I saying that? As the Chancellor said, all of us, I'm sure every student in this room has used AI. Not just generative AI, even before it just blew up, We were using our phones, you're using Google Maps, you're using Siri, you're using an iPhone, you're using all these tools. Even what Google does when you're doing a Google search. There's a lot we've been using AI. But what has changed now is the capabilities that AI is able to do. Even those of us who are in that field, we're in shock at how quickly this has happened. The Chancellor said you could be here, you're in philosophy, or you're in agriculture, and you're wondering, what does AI have to do with me? There is no sector today that is not touched by AI. If you think about medicine, just send some images of skin, and you get a diagnosis of a skin disease. Take photos of plants in the shamba, you get a diagnosis of what are the pests or diseases that are afflicting that tomato plant or that maize plant. And there's so many examples, whether it's in engineering, even in the creative arts. I met Kajetan Boy, we all know him. He's using AI to create your scripts. You can, in one prompt, come up with a play. We've talked about AI. I'll just give a very basic definition of AI. What is AI? The behind the scenes. It's basically taking data to answer a specific problem. It's not just data for the sake of data. I want to diagnose tomato diseases. So I'm going to collect data that I can train a model that when I next show it some images of a tomato, it's able to tell me this is tomato rust or blight or whatever, right? So what does it take to build useful AI? First, you must have the problem that you want to solve. And why I'm saying this is that I'm addressing, and this is the first time actually I get an opportunity to talk to students who are not computer science students, so I'm very honored that we're able to have this session where we share what it is you can do with AI as a student. So you could be, when you talk about AI models, first there's the problem, the human problem you're solving. It could be in agriculture, it could be in music, it could be in behavioral sciences, it could be in computer science. In any domain, there's a problem that needs to be solved. The next thing is to ask, can I use AI for this, right? Then the next thing is it useful for who needs that solution? Okay, so you might be sitting here saying, okay, I'm in the Faculty of Arts. I don't quite see how I use AI. So I'm here to break it down for you. AI is one field that is requiring multiple disciplines, multiple knowledge, if that's even a word. Look at it this way. There's the domain knowledge. Then secondly, there's what we call non-bias in the models that we train. There's also something called the values that are encoded in the data that we train. So I'll give an example just from, I have a daughter who one day was doing some research. She's 8 years old. And she asked, I don't know, for some reason she needed to find out who's the fattest woman in the world. So she asks me, and I say, oh, why would you want to know that? And she says, oh, can I use ChatGPT? I gave her my phone, and she typed, and I was very curious to see what the answer would be. So do you know what happened? There was a huge, they just type. And it was a lecture. That why would you ask that? That is not a good question to ask. You should not talk about people's body sizes, blah, 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 blah. And it got me thinking that that's a reflection of the values upon which that model has been trained. As Africans, traditionally, in fact, the rounder you are, the more beautiful and the better you are, right? So this is reflecting a different culture. So that's why you come in, you're studying anthropology, you're studying African science, African studies, you're studying women's studies, you're doing stuff that is African. We need your voice. We need you to train those models to reflect the values that we espouse as Africans. So there's a space for you, even if you're just doing something like anthropology. In fact, I can tell you the space for behavioral scientists is now more important than ever because AI is bridging the gap between tech and the human being. So the people who understand human behavior, human values, human desire, they're in very big demand. Just a month ago, the University of Nairobi signed a collaborative agreement with Sama AI. Sama is an international company. They operate off Mombasa Road, and they're here training AI models for companies across the globe. Autonomous driving vehicles, they train those models in Nairobi. Believe it or not, when they said they wanted to hire our students, do you know which students they asked for first? You would think it would be computer scientists or engineers. No. They said we want literature and linguistics students. Why? Because generative AI is talking about language. They need people to train the models to correct the responses that we see from generative AI. So they need people who understand English. And here I'm going to add, we also want generative AI to speak our African languages. If you try and type a prompt and say, how do I create a biogas digester? Do that in English, you will get 20 fantastic pages. Tell it, could you do that in Gikuyu or in Tholuo? Gibberish. So there's a space for those of us who are passionate about our African languages to train models that can actually produce content in our African languages. Otherwise, we stand the risk of what is called elitist AI, that only if you can speak English or French or the European languages can you benefit from the richness that generative AI is bringing us, okay? So there is a space for everybody. And that is, you might be asking, so how do I get these skills? How do I use AI? How can I be creative with AI? And that's where the Nairobi School of AI comes in. And that's why I said, what a time to be a student at the University of Nairobi today, thanks to the Big Five agenda, where we have the Nairobi School of AI. So we are doing 3 pointed things. Number 1 is capacity building. That's what we do. We are a university. We train. And we have separated or divided our training into 2 programs. So there's the literacy courses, as the Chancellor mentioned, that everybody is going to understand the basics of AI. What does it mean to understand the basics? Understand how it works and its limitations so that you're able to decide if it's the right solution for what you're trying to do. Okay? That is AI literacy. Number 2, understand the ethics of using AI. Granted, we're using it to write our term papers, et cetera, and there's nothing wrong with that. But ask yourself, if you're using it to shortcut a foundational or core knowledge, you're doing yourself a disservice. But if you're using it to help you build on what you already know, go for it. So we're also going to train you on ethical use of AI in education, for research, how to cite work that you've generated using AI, et cetera. That's going to be part of the AI literacy course. Then we also have a diploma course, what we're calling short courses, and we call this the AI 102 courses. So that if you're in agriculture, we're going to give you use cases of how you can use AI in agriculture. Open up your mind to the opportunities, whether you're in African studies, whether you're in the creative arts, you're in linguistics, you're in engineering, you're in medicine, you're in computer science, you're in math. So we're going to have very domain-focused short courses for our students. Then the other one is a deep course in Masters in Artificial Intelligence. And this one we want it to be completely full-time, hands-on. We've already been talking to our partners. Nairobi is blessed to have the big guns here. We're talking Google, Microsoft, IBM, NVIDIA, Amazon. They're here and they're looking for well-trained engineers who can work with AI. And not just the engineers, remember we're saying these AI models need to be Africanized. Yeah? So as much as we're talking about MSc in artificial intelligence for engineers, there's still scope for the other disciplines to participate in this space. So we're also going to we're looking for funding so that we're able to pay for the top 50 students who are really going to do the masters, full-time masters in computer science with placements with our partner industries. The third plank is where all the magic is going to happen, which is what we're calling the AI research and solutions. This is where we're going to turn the problems and opportunities we see in our country into real products and services that function to the betterment of our fellow citizens. That's what we call innovation. So one of the big 5 agenda is the innovation park. And I think in what the Vice Chancellor said about, for instance, brands project, I'm sure we have many brands across the university. You have an idea, it's informed by a real problem in the world, You've leveraged your knowledge and your technical expertise and created a solution. Then we help you incubate it and scale it so that what we are doing, our knowledge is translated into things that are being consumed by the communities that we find ourselves in. So here we're going to encourage multidisciplinary collaboration. As I said, this is the first time I'm addressing students who are not from Chiromo. The School of AI is going to break that because we want students to walk into the School of AI, interact with faculty from different disciplines, because we say knowledge is not, it's not in one discipline. It's in conversations that bring together different perspectives from different disciplines. That's how we create all-rounded solutions that make an impact. So you'll be very welcome to just walk in with an idea that you have, together with the Innovation Park and your domain knowledge, ask us how do we bring in AI, and we will walk with you through that. And of course, in partnership with our partners like, all these other, the local companies as well as international companies. So as I come to an end of, I hope I've helped to realize that AI is for all of us. The Nairobi School of AI is there to skill you and equip you. But lastly, what I want to caution us about is, there's an African saying that you can take the cow to the river, but you cannot force it to drink. So we may put all this, but really it's up to your own individual drive, vision, that you tap into what we are putting out for you. I would ask you to remember one thing: be present. What does it mean to be present? Is to be alive to what is happening around you, to see opportunities or challenges as a space for you where you can contribute, and then leverage the knowledge that you have from your domain, as well as technology, AI, innovation, and come to the School of AI as well as the Innovation Park and translate that into something. So the ball is on your court. As I said, what a time to be alive. What a time to be a student where you can chart your future. And more importantly, what a time to be at the University of Nairobi today, where we've laid this out for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wanjiko. What a time to be at the University of Nairobi. Now we are going to the next session of this next part of this program. And I want to invite the big man, JKL. I don't know where are you. JKL, are you in the house? Ah, he's here. Welcome.
Thank you, Aurini. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm waiting for that guy to chant before I continue on. What do you say? The comrades guy, yeah. Ruto, siongee bana ndivyo tuendelee. Or maybe he's left. Okay. So, my job this afternoon is the easiest because I am going to be the traffic policeman to make sure you guys ask the questions and get the answers. So let's get right to it. I'd like to invite my good friend, Professor Patrick Koyen, back on stage. Dr. Wanjiko Nganga also back on stage. Yes, round of applause. I also want to get two students on the stage. I'd like to get Gregory Opondi. Where are you, Gregory? Get on stage. And Vanessa Ngugi, please get on stage and we'll get this going. You know, Professor Koyen called me about 2 weeks ago and he said, listen, man, I'm having a town hall meeting on the 18th and I'd like you to be there. And I said, no, I can't because 18th is a Wednesday and Wednesday is only one thing that happens on TV, right? Somebody say, oh my. But because of the magnitude of this topic of discussion, I wouldn't have missed this in the world. So I'm very happy to be here. JKL can wait a few hours. I'm Magani, my friends. So, those with questions, I'd like you to raise your hands, the time to ask them. Make sure you tell us who you are, which department you're in. Keep your questions short and sweet like Sauti Soul, okay? Short and sweet, just so that we can, the more questions we get, the more answers we'll get. That's the bottom line. Don't ask 2 questions, don't ask 3 questions, don't give us a term paper. This is not the time. and we don't have the time. So let's get right down to it. So, Vanessa, let me start with you. From your understanding of the Big Five, what's your take home from it? What's your takeaway from the Big Five?
I think my take home is on the jobs. We'll be able to create more jobs, and being that in the green job spaces, there's quite a lot to do in different fields. So it's up to us to explore the opportunities that we have.
Yeah, good. Okay, Gregory Opondi, what about you? What's your takeaway?
Good afternoon, everyone. So my takeaway from the Big Five agenda is essentially to solve the three problems that the Chancellor has stated here: no skills, no jobs, no hope. This is what the youth are facing right now. And with the Big Five agenda, it's going to match the skill gap, because students graduate, yes, with the academic knowledge, but they lack the modern skills to work in the private industry sector. And that's why the Chancellor is also involving the private industry sector in revising the curriculum. We also have in the provision of skills, the Nairobi School of AI, we have the Green Job Center. We see that all of these are focused on providing skills, which will enable you to get jobs and finally have a hope for a better future.
Excellent. Okay, so straight to the floor. Tell us who you are, who you represent, and who your question is directed to, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Samuel Ochor, fifth year student pursuing electrical and electronics engineering. Yeah, so thank you so much, engineer professor. I believe those are the greatest titles someone can ever have in the world. Yeah, so we've talked about UN, the Big Five agenda. They're all great. We have great lecturers. But now it's just one topic maybe we've avoided, where we need to revamp the institution. I am requesting maybe today we can go to Mamlaka hostels. We just see how they look like, because they're so pathetic. And other institutional, say people who are not, the greatest expenditure for Kenya, of course, is corruption. We know that. So what do you think we can actually do? Maybe we add a sixth agenda, revamping these institutions. And on the School of AI, of course, I'm definitely going to join the School of AI, where we can have a model that can actually help Kenya solve corruption. Because if we just give it all the data of all these institutions, we can just know something fishy happened, and it can tell us 90% accuracy that actually a politician or someone is corrupt. So thank you so much.
Dr. Nganga, he wants an AI to solve corruption. As long as you get all those corrupt people therein as well, right? They'll be there in the list. Mics.
Thank you for that remark. I think you've raised something very interesting. Remember, we said AI is trained by the data, right? So I'm asking myself, if this data has been engineered, wouldn't we just get a super corrupt algorithm? Food for thought, right? But I think that's the kind of thinking we want to hear, that we see the problems in our community and we ask, how do we solve them? Yeah, so happy to hear that you're ready to join us, and we'll have that discussion, because we of course want something that's ethical. Yeah.
Professor Pakoyan, is this what you're looking to hear? Is that the feedback you're looking to hear?
First, I heard something about housing, then corruption. And quite frankly, they're related. They're distinct, but they're related. What's the beauty of where we are today, here, now, is to have the new Vice Chancellor with us. The first female Vice Chancellor of this great institution. And I happen to know a little bit about the Vice Chancellor for quite some time. What is the single characteristic which she brings to the job on Monday morning? Is integrity. Because addressing corruption starts at the top. Secondly, on housing, for me it's inconceivable to be the largest public landowner, or one of the largest public landowner in this country, and have, quite frankly, shameless housing facilities. And I said it to the Vice Chancellor the other day. I took management, I think, a little bit in a shock. Last time when I was here, meeting, completely codified and scripted. I said, I want to see, just show me, student housing, hostel. No, I cannot, it's not organized. I said, I want to see it. I'm going, I said. I mean, there must be here in town. So we drove and we went to one of the student hostels. And I was shocked about the quality of the student hostel, right? So my commitment is a shared commitment with management. This has to be fixed. There is a deal to be made with a structured public land transformation and student hostels. So as I said to the council of the university, as I said to management of the university, give me the plan. Not tomorrow, the day after, next month, next year. The time is now to come with that structured plan, with that structured approach where all the stakeholders, including yourself, are being involved. And the last point, Jeff, what Vanessa said about jobs. On Friday, it's my first commencement. It's not about me, but the reality is, on Friday, 4,000 folks graduate. Do you know how many young Africans go to the labor market every single month? You know what the number is? 1 million. This month, next month, the following month. And do you know how many of these 1 million colleagues, peers, brothers and sisters, you may even call them comrades, land a formal job? 1 in 4. So I'm absolutely convinced, Jeff, this Green Job Center is only going to work when we fix the fundamental problem this university and all the other universities, I would think, in this country has. There is a disconnect between, there's a structural disconnect between the world of learning, i.e. the university, and the world of action, i.e. the private sector. And yes, there are bright spots, and yes, there are examples here and there. It's way too scattered, and that's what is the Green Job Center about, to address that fundamental system fix.
Absolutely, and the time is now. Let's go on with the questions. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Muthama, and I just have a quick question. I represent the Green Transitions Project in the Department of Chemistry, coordinated by Dr. Josephine Ojambo. And my question is just, would there be opportunities for collaborations with such transformative, green-driven projects along with the AI school that you would like to implement? Thank you.
Collaboration.
Yes, thank you for that question. When we talk about the big five, they're not like silos, okay? They're cross-pollinating because AI and innovation cut across all the domains. So for instance, we talk about green jobs. There's so much data that can be collected that AI can help improve on what you're trying to do, right? So we are, and that's why I said the Nairobi School of AI will be the melting pot, where regardless of what domain you're coming from, as long as there's scope for AI, we'll be there to support. And that's what I said, the third plank was research and solutions, right? So if you have a problem, you have an idea of how you want to solve it, we have an idea in terms of AI, we'll help you collect the data, we'll help you train the models, we'll help you validate them, and create products through the innovation pack so that they go out into the community.
My name is Max Ayaga from the University of Nairobi Faculty of Law. My question is, while all this looks long term, what are some of the quick wins that we are able to harness from these opportunities? And then how are we going to balance academic integrity with the advent of AI? Thank you.
Quick wins, Professor Farkoyan. Quick wins.
Well, there are quick wins. We're starting today and tomorrow and the day after, right? I mean, the professor indicated it. This mandatory AI 101 course, we're moving. The mandatory course on leadership, we're moving. The mandatory course on climate change, we're moving. The mandatory course on entrepreneurship is being built. So there is something here for everyone now. But I want to say something else, Jeff, in response to this. On the quick win, what's the long win? You graduate. Folks will graduate on Friday. And Friday, when I do the play on the Big Five, they will presumably say, well, what's in it for us? We just graduate, right? We want you back. We want you back to come to the University of Nairobi. Because once you have landed, Vanessa, your entry-level job, there is still a learning curve to be done. And that's where we, as University of Nairobi, want to be staying your home for continued learning. Being it on green jobs, on AI, on leadership, similar to what I said to the student leaders representation. It's not only for students, it's also executive training where we want to scale up. You want to talk about the integrity with AI?
Yes, thank you for that. And also just to add in terms of the quick wins, there's stuff we've already been doing, for instance, in Chiromo. We get approached by different companies. We have Penta Health, we have Kenya Insurance, and many other such companies who organize hackathons. So they say, here's a problem we're trying to solve in industry. Can we work with your students? And we organize like a weekend where students come, they spend the time in the lab, they form teams, multidisciplinary teams. So those are already things that we've been doing, and we're just going to scale that up. In terms of integrity, and this goes even to the question about corruption. Corruption is a symptom of values gone wrong, right? So we need to be asking ourselves as Kenyans, how do we sew back the values that we want to see going forward, right? By the time you're deciding to cheat in your exam, what are you saying about yourself? You will cheat through primary school, high school, campus, so you might not get caught, but at the workplace, that's where the rubber meets the road. You will not cheat your way in a job, right? So we're talking about ethics. So, and that's why I said, when you're talking about AI, if it's foundational knowledge, do not use generative AI to do that for you. And I'll give an analogy. Right now, children who are in grade 4, they have to memorize their times tables. Why? We have calculators, we have all that. But they have to be able to do mental calculations. They have to understand numbers. So that's a foundational concept. If you tell your child just use ChatGPT to do for you 3 times 6, you're not helping them, right? But for somebody who's already in the university and they already know math, I'm sure in the math department they're allowed to use calculators. You can even you can get code to do something for you, right? So we're going to be helping you navigate what is ethical use of AI for your own benefit so that you don't lose out on the core competencies that we're trying to translate, to teach you. But once you've already mastered this, then you can use generative AI to make you work faster, more efficient, but also have the knowledge to to check the output of the AI. There's always a disclaimer there after GPT that it's not always accurate. Are you able, and you're only able to tell if it's correct if you already know what you are looking for. So we're going to help you navigate how to use AI ethically in school.
Mr. Chancellor, sir, I've got 2 questions for you, brief ones. I'm Jeremy Ajay, a literature student. You might best remember me from the incomplete essay on the University of Nairobi. So my first question is, the Big Five agenda seems like a very transformative and much needed makeover of the university. So my question is, how do you see our university in the long term once the Big Five agenda has been actualized? And then my second question has something to do with the foundational processes you spoke about, which are very critical to ensuring that the Big Five agenda is a success in the university. I happen to lead a very interesting team which is with us here today. Maybe you could wave. Yeah, and we are working on, we also sort of identified a problem among us students as the fact that we are not empowered enough to actualize our dreams even when in the university. So rather than speak about the problem, we've gone ahead and come up with a draft of solutions in the last 6 months, which we were hoping that you could hear out if you give us the opportunity, so that we can be able to spread it across the university, and it's like a sort of a framework that will enable the campus student to be more empowered as they pursue their studies, so that they don't have to be between a rock and a hard place while pursuing studies, and thus result in causes like violence and such and demonstration. So thank you, Mr. Chancellor.
Jeremy, instructions were simple. 1 question, keep it short. No wonder you're a literature student. Professor Vercoyen, take it away.
2 questions. 3 answers. 1, Jeremy. When I said no jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope, it did not apply to literature students. Why? Earlier this week, we had a similar session as we're having it today, but a smaller group with industry. And industry said, well, actually, what we're looking for from graduates of the University of Nairobi and other public universities are those who can communicate, those who can articulate, those who have reflective thinking, and those who show up on time. So where do I see the University of Nairobi, say, in 20 years? Basic fact, in 2050, 1 in 4 people on this planet will be from sub-Saharan Africa. In 2050, 1 in 3 of the young generation will be from sub-Saharan Africa. And it was very interesting, and I'm going to say something which perhaps I shouldn't even say. President Ruto visited me in the Netherlands last year. And he came to my day job, sitting on the largest floating office in the world. And there was a conversation with the global north about a pact between Africa and the global north, and it was about climate. Who is financing what? As the Vice Chancellor said, as you know, Africa didn't contribute, is impacting the most. But it was something very profound and very unusual in a diplomatic setting, what your president said. He said, we are not beggars. We are not beggars. We are partners. We have something to offer which the world needs. Youngest population, most uncultivated arable land, a knowledge industry up for the taking. So my expectation is that this university will be a central player in the world economy of tomorrow, not as beggars, but as equal partners to the Harvards of this world, to the Oxfords of this world, because we have something on offer, and I expect, provided your drive, that this big five will take us off. But there's one homework assignment that I'm giving here en public to the Vice Chancellor. Because as you recall, in January when I came, we did these town halls, I said, well, the University of Nairobi has to be the #1 university in the continent. Why not? Why South Africa? Why Egypt? Why not us? But there is a process. There is a system. There is a ranking. There's a methodology. And the Vice Chancellor, before she even became Vice Chancellor, gave me a paper. And she said, for us to move from where we are today to where we need to be as #1, there is a process. And I'm now calling upon the Vice Chancellor, as Vice Chancellor, to implement your own paper and come back to us and to the main shareholders, the students, by Christmas, to where we are on that journey.
Okay, hello everyone. My question goes to the Chancellor. My name is Jude Koch, a 5th year civil engineering student and the former chairperson, University of Nairobi Environment Club. So my question is this. One main problem innovators meet is hitting a dead end when they are building applications. But there's a solution to it, which is open science. So last year on 20th, we had a discussion here with groups from East Africa on open science. Open science basically enables free flow of information and free access. But the professors who are in attendance had issues around their work being accessed when they've not been paid for it. So could the committee that is going to be put, could you look into this so that we find a way forward?
Yeah. Thank you. So, Jeff, if you allow me, question for a question.
Yeah.
If that's the problem, if that's the challenge, you should come to the committee next week and put it on the table. The thing is this has to be shaped. The big five, as I said, it can be everything or it can be a complete flop. Let's also be realistic here. It can be a complete failure. Failure is if we don't engage, if we don't drive, if we don't have the resources, if we don't implement. That's not what we're here for. As I said, next week, and I think the Vice Chancellor in her closing remarks will paint the way forward. Okay, what's next? What's tomorrow? What's next week? What I want is that next week the nominations are in. What I want is that the following week faculty, leads, management meet with the committee and get going on this, right? And I think it's not right to expect, I'm not saying that you claim that all the answers will come from faculty and that you're sort of as service providers and you're the clients. You're the main shareholders, and that's exactly, you are at the University of Nairobi for a reason. You are already bright, because otherwise you couldn't even get in, right? You're already in your 5th year, you said. I mean, you're very, very advanced. Bring it to the table.
I will be there and I'll bring it to the table.
More questions, more questions. Dr. Nanga, would you like to add to that, or are you okay? You good? Okay.
Mr. Chancellor, sir, and my fellow comrades, good evening. Mine is a short question and also a proposal as we discuss more on the green jobs. I heard from your CV that you played a part in the drafting of the carbon pricing back then, and you've also said that we have large tracts of land as UN. And over the past 2-3 years, we've been involved in heavy tree planting as a nation and also as a school. So my proposal to those who will feature into the committee and also to the team is if you can think on that angle, if as a school or as an institution, we can even look towards tree planting as a school so that we can even become sustainable. As we plant more trees, we get the money for carbon pricing with you at the helm of the leadership. That's my suggestion and my take to all students. Thank you so much.
Prof.
I think it's a great suggestion. Let me just give you a personal story. the first time, years ago, when I came to Kenya, flew to Nairobi, then I went to Kisumu. With whom? Kofi Annan. Remember Kofi Annan? The former Secretary General of the United Nations. So I supported him on his trip to Kenya, and we went to Kisumu. Why Kisumu? I thought I was a big guy. I worked at the World Bank. I had a project in Kisumu. What was the project? The project was with smallholder farmers. And the story was very simple. The initiative of the World Bank basically supported them in doing agriculture differently. Drought-tolerant crops, different mulching, tree planting. So in Kisumu, at that sort of plot where the smallholder farmers used that practice, indeed, they sequestered carbon and they got a couple of bucks in return. So now my footnote on your right suggestion is the comment of Kofi Annan. Standing in the field in Kisumu, he said, Patrick, great project. But there's 60,000 smallholder farmers. That was sort of the initiative. There are millions of smallholder farmers in Kenya alone. There are tens of millions of farmers, smallholder farmers in Africa. It's too small. It's too small. The reason why this is called the Big Five is that we have to think big, bold. So I think it's a good idea, but my sort of call on the committee is not to build a Christmas tree, but to stay on the critical path. What are the critical levers which we need to drive to take off? Otherwise, I'm not sure whether this is on the critical path or not, to be discussed, I would think. Otherwise, in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, we can be very busy, but accomplish really little. So I think what I would call for, building on your comments, yes, innovative finance streams, such as carbon finance, is smart to think through, but I think for the committees, it's also very critical to think big and bold and practical. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Sindani. I'm a member of the Youth Academy on Climate Adaptation, but I'm also pursuing my master's in Gender and Development Studies. My question is more of a systemic level. Like the Vice Chancellor said that we are in the middle of a climate crisis, and as Africa and Kenya, we are suffering like the brutality of it. And from experience and also from a personal opinion, at the systemic level is that we have been brought up a society that looks at development issues in isolation. So as the University of Nairobi, is there any chance to influence at the academic, the curriculum level where the aspect of looking at development from a holistic point of view can be inculcated into the system so that when we can raise a society that looks at development not at, let's say, population only or health only, but what are the connections between health, environment, population, livelihood, education, in a way that we can be able to accelerate development and not continue mark timing.
I'm going to speed things up a little bit, so I'm going to go to a couple more questions. So please note what the young lady just said, and then we'll get a couple more, and then you can answer them in succession. All right, real quick, go ahead.
All right, thank you. My name is Jacob Emoit, a student from the Faculty of Law. Mine is a quick one, and it's with regards to the learning model, right? Over the years, traditional universities have deployed what I would describe as a teacher-centric mode of learning, right? So with regards to your 5 agendas, do you think there will be a need now to review this learning model so that we have students more engaged? Because the implication of the previous or the ongoing model is that we graduate students into the society and all of them are job seekers instead of being job creators. Thank you.
Let's get some ladies in
here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Imelda Maina, 4th year student, Civil and Construction Engineering, Finance Secretary, Engineering Students Association. So my question is, owing to the idea of increasing demand of skills in the emerging sectors, how is the institution aligning its curriculum in response to, in also partnership with the industry to not only bring out employable students at the moment but also employable students in the future jobs that are yet to exist? And second, when is the sorry, I apologize. When is the mandatory AI course set to be integrated into the university? Thank you. Have a nice day.
There's a question about holistic over there, right? And then teacher-centric, and then something about civil engineering.
Yeah. And Jeff, for me, quite frankly, it comes down to the same thing. I think all of us, we need to reimagine education fundamentally through AI, the private sector, but fundamentally, we're an institution of learning. So we also have a new DVC, Academic Affairs. Maybe is here, I think, or is not, indeed. The DVC Academic Affairs. Maybe he can stand for a little bit. And I think it's on his plate to translate the input from students, the expectation from society, the operationalization of the Big Five in a revamped curriculum for this university. So, first of all, congratulations with your appointment as Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs, but it comes, again, like for the students, with homework. We want to hear from you during the next town hall. Where are we with the reimagination of the curriculum? Not up in the sky, but in the classrooms. That would be very important indeed.
Thank you for that wonderful response, and even for the questions. I think first I would want to really, the lady who talked about systemic perspectives, you've actually nailed, that is it, right? Because the problems we have are not in isolation. But we can't forget that you need some deep expertise in a certain domain, but then you need to collaborate beyond your discipline. So part of what we're doing with the Big Five is allowing that collaboration. Then the issue of problem-based learning, and I'm glad that we have the DVC academic here. I think that's something that is long overdue. And I just want to share one course, I think, to the last question that was asked, on how we ensure our students are ready, especially where we have very rapid changes we're witnessing. So in the computer science curriculum for our 4th years, we've introduced a course which we call Emerging Technologies Bootcamp. It is not a taught course, and we are well aware, because we're in a very speedy changing space, that we will not modify our curriculum as quickly as technology is changing. So we offer this in collaboration with industry. So they come in, we get people from Equity, from Safaricom, right now we're working with Seriano. They come and give seminars, hands-on, and the students have to do a project over 8 weeks. So what does that mean? The students are well aware of what's happening in industry. Industry is well aware of what we are doing in the university, and maybe that's a model that we can consider scaling so that it's a win-win for students, the university, and industry. So already we're doing that at the University of Nairobi. Maybe what we just need is to share success stories from different faculties.
Good evening, everyone. My name is...
There was one question on when the AI literacy courses are on offer. We're working to ensure they're available this academic year, probably starting in the 2nd semester.
Once again, good evening. My name is Wambogu Mwangi Eugene, first year. I don't know if I'm allowed to be here, but I'll be here. We are talking about job opportunities, scholarship, entrepreneurship, digital innovation, and leadership. When you talk about job opportunities, I guess it's about full-time or part-time job where you get paid. Scholarship, it's free learning. Entrepreneurship, dealing with business, earning money. Digital innovation, it's all about money, guys. So I'll just... People are basically talking about their departments, but I'll try to talk for all of us. When are we going to be paid? When are we going to have those money? Thank you.
and you are first year. Who let this man in? All right, the money man. Who else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ambrose Pekmeli. Basically, I'm not a student of University of Nairobi. I'm here courtesy of JCA for the Youth Academy. But I've seen fantastic program being launched, the Big Five agendas. But now mine is, I'm a former student of JKU. Is there going to be an opportunity for other students or other graduates from other universities to join into the artificial school and even the leadership school? Because I think it should be for all of us. Because one of the things, as a student of this country, because for me, I'm not going to study outside, for me, I always say it is the professionals who have always failed us. But now with you, a brain from Netherlands, a new brain in, trying to reshape, I think it is going to be a better opportunity, even for us who didn't go into University of Nairobi. Thank you.
Maybe you should get your money back from JKU.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Sankara Nyagaya. I'm convener from Ngong Social Justice and Environment Center. I'm here courtesy of GCA and the Youth Academy. My question was to Professor Ngugi regarding the AI opportunities. Dr. Nganga, Professor Nganga, sorry. I heard you in your presentation, you talked about incorporation of the different disciplines to benefit and also to assist in rolling out the AI. My question to you is in regard to the layman out there. You know, they say that a Rastaman is the true image of the society. So I just want to speak also on behalf of the people who are not in this room, and just to find out if it's an opportunity only for the elite and the academia, or we also have a chance as the lay people in the community. Thanks.
Good question. All right, I'm going to ask one more question. There's a sixth-year medical student, young lady here, who's a sixth-year medical student. Where is she? She was here earlier on. Is she still here? Has she gone?
Surgery.
Where are you? I can't see you. Oh, my goodness. You know, nosebleed seats. Way, way up. Okay. Ask your question, and then we move on.
Okay, I'm going to try to do what you wanted the man from up there to do. Long live your and long live. Thank you. So my name is Nyake Mburu. I'm a finalist medical student at the University of Nairobi. And my question to you would be, I really love the first question that was asked. I love the question from JKUAT. And all of them have to do with making sure through and through that these opportunities really are accessible to students regardless of their background. Because it's quite a large vision that's even beyond our university, our country, even it's sounding continental or global. So my question would be, how can we harness existing student potential infrastructure, like the leadership that's already there? I mean, as someone who has, from whether I've been a class rep or I've been a secretary in one of our student associations, I think we have really been in a place of, I think things are changing in Kenya where people are listening more and more to the youth and are willing to collaborate and to partner. So does this Big Five agenda account for how to harness and how to enhance and to promote existing student leadership infrastructure? Yeah.
Doctor, you couldn't have broken that down into 30 seconds. All right, you know, the good thing about town halls like this is the fact that it's generating so much interest with you guys, right? You guys enjoying this, right? In fact, give yourselves a round of applause right there. Yeah. And don't worry, there will be many more. There will be plenty more so that we can break this down even further. The Big Five, we've just started, this is just the beginning. So there will be more, and you guys will be invited, and you can ask more questions. But right now, we have to wrap this up, because JKL is on tonight. So before we wrap up, I'd like to ask the student leaders, first Vanessa, just give us some closing thoughts, and then Gregory, some closing thoughts, and then Daktari, and Prof, you can wrap things up if you don't mind. You get the last word. Vanessa, go. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, my closing thought on all of these, especially on the Big Five agenda, which includes the job opportunities, entrepreneurship, leadership, scholarship, and digital innovation. Well, I would like to say that it's time that all the universities and TVET colleges align their syllabuses and their curriculum to where we are moving to as a country and where we are moving to as a continent and at the global level. Because if we don't align, then we'll continue having the same problem that the youth are crying about. That's unemployment, lack of ideas, because we may have the ideas for businesses that's under the entrepreneurship bracket, but again, we are moving into the AI system again, which means that we need to up our games in the digital space. And then when we look into the leadership, we can see that the leaders that we've been having, allow me to quote the Gen Z movement that has been doing the sanitization of the nation. And speaking on this on a positive note, they have come to awaken the sleeping skeletons that were really being hidden under the closets. But I believe that through this Big Five agenda, if the leaders can be trained, and how I am really grateful to our Chancellor for bringing up this idea of the GCA, where we are able to be trained, to be trainers of trainers, and to be able to make a difference in our nation from the national to the global world. And I believe that through all this, then Kenya shall be able to move a step forward and be put on the global map. God bless you.
My closing remarks on this would essentially answer some of the questions that have also been asked here with regards to whether this opportunity is open to everyone or it's just students in the University of Nairobi, whether it's just the elitist students. We've heard that the professor, our chancellor, saying that education is just not for the elitist, and that people who cannot afford but have resources. And we come to see that the Big Five agenda is not beneficial just to the students of University of Nairobi, but to Kenya and even Africa at large. Because let me just remind you what it is all about. We have one, the Africa Leadership Institute. Harvard has the School of Kennedy School, where they graduate public leaders, and the Chancellor is going to implement a similar thing. We're going to have the Africa Leadership Institute, providing leaders that will shape the continent as a whole, because we're in need of leaders who are incorruptible, leaders who listen to the youth, and leaders who implement. The next pillar is the Green Jobs Center. Again, it's not just for the UN, but the Africa at large. It's going to save us from the looming danger of climate change, which, as we've heard, is affecting Africa most, even though Africa is contributing to climate change the least, because we find that most African countries are agrarian countries. We depend on agriculture for income, and climate change adversely affects agriculture. We have the UN Innovation Park, and one student asked, how are we going to shape our students, not just to be job seekers, but job creators? This is where the UN Innovation Park comes in. With students with bright ideas, we have many Brians with bright ideas coming up with innovations, but with nowhere to take them. Take them to the UN Innovation Park, get incubated, get funding, get mentorship, and become a job creator. We have the Nairobi School of AI, which has been talked about, I think, throughout the whole session by the Chancellor and Professor Wanjiku. It's going to spearhead Africa in the space of tech, and we're going to come up with, essentially, as the Chancellor has said, Stanford has the Silicon Valley, we are going to have the Silicon Savannah. And finally, the Nairobi Advanced Institute of Health Research Center, which is going to spearhead research in health with relation to localized African data, because I don't know how many of you have been into health. I think we've had health students here. Getting data that is localized, in order, let's say, to train AI, getting data that is localized to the African context is really difficult. For example, you might be working on a project on diabetes. When you go online to look for data, all you get is data from abroad. So we have the Nairobi Advanced Health Research Center to lead research in health, but with the context of Africa. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Dr. Wanyiko Nyanga.
Thank you for all the engaging questions, and I think I'll respond to Rastaman, because I think your question brings it home. Why are we doing all these things? As a university, we exist to serve our communities. So if all we're doing is just research that never gets translated into usable products and services, then we would be failing in our mission. So the challenge I have for us as students and faculty is, are we translating the knowledge we have, domain knowledge, AI, tech, innovation, into products and services that we can put in the hands of Rastaman? In Kenya, we talk about Mama Mboga and the Boda Boda guy. What are we doing for them? Because that is, we won't expect them to create AI, but they're waiting to benefit from AI, from the innovations that we put through technology. So thank you for that question.
Professor McCoy, you get the last word.
I'm the Chancellor, Jeff, of the University of Nairobi. I'm not the Chancellor of other public universities here in Kenya. Having said that, the University of Nairobi is this icon in this country, in fact, across the continent. So it brings responsibilities, but it also brings students opportunities. So if you think about the big five, my principal shareholders, my bottom line, are the students of the University of Nairobi. Let's fix the system in the house before we start fixing the house outside. But having said that, there is no reason why we cannot open the AI course, a MOOC on AI 101, for all the students in this country. There is no reason why the Leadership 101 course within this university cannot be open to all students in this country. There is no reason why a smallholder farmer from Makwene cannot find a place in Silicon Savannah. So we opened this up with the key shareholders in place driving this. But we opened this up with an open heart and an open mind. Tonight I have, as you know, you have your show. I have invited all the chancellors of all the public universities in this country for dinner. To do what? To talk about the big five. And I say, well, this is what we have on offer. What are your ideas to fix this? But the most important question was from the first year student. And let me paraphrase you. Amy, you should stand. And basically you said, Chancellor's great, it's nice. Show me the money. Show me the money that when I come to the University of Nairobi, I have the resources to go to the School of AI. Show me the money that when I come to the University of Nairobi, I'm going to that Leadership Institute. Show me the money that when I come to the University of Nairobi, yes, I want to go to the Green Job Center. But I cannot afford that. And I want to end where I started off with for you, with the strike. Because the resources for these initiatives, which we're discussing, Harvard comes in. They don't come in for free. You need to fundraise for it. Harvard professors flying from Nairobi, they don't come for free. You have to fundraise for it. Is it doable? Yes. Is it difficult? Also yes. Is it impossible in a space when the country is on fire, when the strikes are putting the university down? There is no way, I can tell you from personal experience, to fundraise. So my last message is a commitment to you and all who you represent. It is my commitment to fundraise. But I need you. I need your ideas. I need your ownership. I need your leadership. Not tomorrow, not the week after now. And I need from the leaders representing all of you a very deliberate strategy. What you do, what you don't. You have the best and the brightest here. Super sharp representatives. But this is now very delegated territory where we're in. This is not simple. To conclude, Jeff, your son, 17. Before I want to hear from you on stage, on the record, in front of the camera, which you like, I want to first hear from the students, on the record, today, now, here. Are you in? Are you in? Yes. Are you in on the Big Five? Yes. Are you going to lead on the Big Five? Yes. Are you going to show up in the committees? Yes. Are you going to bring your input? Yes. Are you going to deliver? Yes. So Jeff, please come on stage.
All right, here I am. First of all, let's give our panelists a round of applause, everybody. Yeah, good job. Fantastic.
Jeff, before you answer.
Chancellor, sir.
No, Jeff. This is our house. And I want to officially embrace you now as a friend, as a family member, as a brother of the University of Nairobi. And when you go on stage tonight in your show, it's not just Jeff Konanga. No, it's Jeff Konanga who represents Gen Z in this room. Oh. So now the question for you, Jeff. Your son, where is he? Next year.
Having put it that way, Chancellor, sir, if you can deliver on the Big Five, if you all can deliver, and these are fantastic things you talk about. I love the AI. I love the leadership school. I love the fact that Obama might come here for a pep talk one day. You never know. If you can deliver on the Big Five, I will bring my son to the University of Nairobi. He will attend it. I give you my word.
Thank you so much.
I give you my word, Chancellor, sir. What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah? Somebody say, oh my. All right, thank you once again.
I think we want to have the Vice Chancellor on stage.
Is that the one who I used to date, or used to date my family member?
Exactly.
Something I keep forgetting. Professor Hutchinson.
Still looking good, still looking young, still looking vibrant, still driving at the helm of this university. Vice Chancellor, you heard students. You heard the commitment from Jeff. You are top of management. You have the highest,
by the grace of God,
standard of integrity.
Thank you, sir.
You are a go-getter.
Thank you, sir.
What is your takeaway?
Wow, my takeaway is what Miles Monroe told us, that everything rises and falls on leadership. My takeaway is that it's doable, that the continent of Africa is waiting for us to rise to the occasion. Many of of you will come and say, oh, my role model is Wangari Maathai. I love the way she did ABCD, became a Nobel laureate. If you are told what she went through, run away through the back door. If you say it's Mandela, Mandela had to spend 27 years in prison. Are you willing to die with the big five? You know, a story is told of a man who set up a banquet for his friends, and they didn't turn up because one said, I'm married, not to Jeff Winange. I have cows to look after, and he had to go to the city to go and look for beggars to come and eat. The dining has been set for the University of Nairobi. Will you dine? Will you deliver? Will you be part of this transformation agenda? So starting tomorrow, after the graduation on Monday, there's UNSA. As I said, let it be a generational discourse where you will be known. Your legacy will be the big five. So we will be asking the different faculties to come up with their leaders from the professional organizations. I don't know whether the pillar heads are here for the big five. You know, we could be talking about a fake big five. Where are the pillars? I know we met Her Excellency Dr. Wanjiku. Nganga, who are the others? Kinoti, are you in the house? They're working away. Who is here? Collins Odote. Apology, you can stand for him. Dean, Faculty of Law. Who else is here?
The students are here.
Students? Okay, so where are the students? So this is your space. Take it up. Run with it. Manage it. We are behind you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chancellor. We want to hear back from you before Christmas on delivery, on affordable housing. We want to hear back from you in collaboration with the DVC Academic Affairs on the revamp of the curriculum. Vice Chancellor, we want to hear back from you on how together we will deliver this big five. This is an ongoing process, but all of us, we're tired of waiting. Jeff, we will have now a short intermezzo, but I want to ask you, please stay. Give us 10 minutes. There is a new element being brought to you, which is relevant to you today, tomorrow, and the day after. You have to go to class, go to class. 10 minutes. Adriana, can you please come to stage? Adriana is important. Why? She is running globally a youth empowerment movement on climate. And her principal focus is on Africa. And she had a bright idea, she has a bright idea on how to empower. That's going to be tested in front of you now, today, in the next 10 minutes. Adriana, simple exam question, short and bright. What is your idea?
We have an excellent idea to all of you, and we have not only an exciting idea, but an exciting agenda. Because we have a SPA, now we have the town hall, we have a dialogue about adaptation education. You have been asking, we are in a climate emergency, what can we do? And what we are bringing is a very exciting agenda that we will have 5 components. We are going to launch here at the University of Nairobi, in Kenya, the Youth Adaptation Academy that is about climate adaptation and leadership. And this will be a training model, not only for Kenya, but also for Africa. And it will be launched today here by the Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, but as well the CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation. But also, what we need is an intergenerational dialogue. We need also international cooperation, and we have our guest also from the University of Groningen, because we have a partnership between the University of Nairobi and University of Groningen. And we have professors here, and also we have a young delegate from the Netherlands. A big applause for them as well. They just came to Nairobi yesterday evening. What is a celebration without music? Because I am Colombian, I am from Latin America, and when you need to celebrate, you celebrate with music, with friends and family. And we are here in the family of the University of Nairobi. Then we have a performance as well from the choir.
As a research university, we train students at bachelor, master level, and PhD level. At the University of Groningen, we have provided degree programs in all disciplines, from astronomy to history, for over 400 years. 2 decades ago, we came to realize that it is of the utmost importance to also provide interdisciplinary courses and programs and to set up interdisciplinary research if we want to be able to fully address the societal challenges that we are facing. This is why we established 4 overarching interdisciplinary schools and 2 university colleges that cover crucial themes such as sustainable energy, social and climate resilience, healthy aging, and artificial intelligence. We want our students, academics, support staff, and management to look beyond disciplinary borders and to work with external stakeholders, governments, industry relations, and civil society on matters that concern us all. We are increasingly aware that the grand challenges that we see